What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs. Just going over, some of the news, some of the stuff to kind of look out for, um, just this week, right? Some of it DFS, dynasty related, fantasy related, all that stuff. Um, More just team overall. So, some of the news, right? Debo Samuel traded to Washington for a fifth round pick. That one, just boosts Washington's offense. I think it helps someone like Debo Samuel get to a fresh start. Different offensive coordinator could use him in different ways, and how he kind of was in San Fran last season. Obviously, helps someone out like Terry McLaurin, who hasn't had a lot of wide receiver help before. For a fifth round pick, Washington has a lot of money to where they can afford someone like Debo Samuel's contract for what Debo's worth, right? I think it's fair to say Debo's hasn't played up to what that contract is worth. So Washington's a team that can eat it. It helps them out. Gives Jaden Daniels another weapon going forward. Matthew Stafford staying in LA. That was a huge deal. He's one of the dominoes this free agency to see if he was going to stay in LA, get traded, how that was going to go. So he's back in LA. Alex Capo released and then picked up by the Raiders. So Raiders trying to obviously improve their offensive line. Alex Capo's statistically one of the worst guards last season as far as pass blocking. But I mean, he's not the worst. But I think there's a lot of situations you see him to where he's given up pressure, but there's other plays where he is blocking very efficiently. It's just you can't give up that many sacks as a guard. So Raiders do boost their offensive line. They've had a shaky offensive line, so obviously them trying to move in the right direction. T. Higgins gets franchise tagged by Cincinnati. Going on. Oze Adugazuwa. I botched that name and I apologize. Adugazuwa. I believe I got it right that time. Signs a 4-year, $80 million contract extension with Dallas. Dallas making a lot of moves financially right now. CeeDee Lamb kind of restructures his contract. I believe Dak Prescott too restructured his, and he did. So they're trying to make money to re-sign Micah Parsons, giving him an extension. So that's news to watch out for. And then my Bears, right? Jonah Jackson gets traded from the Rams to the Bears for a 6th-round pick. A decent-sized cap hit for what Jonah Jackson has done. He's been injured, got benched in LA, kind of reunites now with Ben Johnson, and adds to, right, even if he's not starting, he's going to be competition, but for what they are paying him, he's more than likely going to be starting. Devontae Adams gets released by the Jets, kind of I was expected. His cap hit was just too much for any team to really go after, so it's more than likely him and Aaron Rodgers are going to go to a team together. Roy Robinson Harris released by Seattle. Seattle made a lot of moves. Rashawn Jenkins released. George Fant released. Draymond Jones released. So Seattle kind of moved names. So it's one to look out for there. Saquon then signs his 2-year, $41.2 million contract extension with Philly. Highest paid running back now. Brandon McManus re-signs with Green Bay. Jamal Williams released by New Orleans. This one was just overdue. Jamal Williams just has not been used. They really haven't used anybody besides Kamara. So, news there. Joe Thuney ends up getting traded from Kansas City to the Bears. So, yet again, my Bears making some much needed offensive line improvements before even free agency hits or the draft. So, basically allowing them to be flexible through free agency and the draft, right? I think there's a lot of positions they needed to address, and so far they've addressed 2 of them, and it's been 2 of the more needed issues. Sam Hubbard surprisingly retires from Cincinnati. Now, Cincinnati's had a lot of money issues they're going over right now. I don't think anybody really expected Sam Hubbard to kind of retire. He's still younger, but obviously you don't know what he's going through physically, mentally, right? A lot of, especially the linemen, they're just, you always get hit. You're always hitting somebody. Um, you know what your body can and cannot do. So, unfortunately for Cincinnati Bengals fans and that team, he is retired, but that's, he's got to do what he's got to do for himself to the future. Tyler Lockett getting released by Seattle. This one was expected as well. Tyler Lockett kind of slowly but surely got booted out of that Seattle passing game. Um, his contract was just high. Tyler Lockett is going to be picked up by another team. I would expect him. He's just a good veteran wide receiver. Obviously, the talent isn't what it once was, but he's still a good veteran wide receiver to bring into a young wide receiver room. So I would expect him to get picked up. Christian Kirk is released by Jacksonville. This one's interesting now. Back when he signed that contract extension, I don't think a lot of teams were happy with the contract he got because, with all due respect to Christian Kirk, he just wasn't performing at that pay, right? He hadn't done anything that was worthy of that money yet, and it kind of screwed a lot of teams for how they were going to pay their wide receivers. As you know, as the money goes up every year, the talent goes up, guys are getting paid. They go off of other contracts. And when Christian Kirk got that contract, it was a little absurd. Obviously, Jacksonville had a lot of money to throw around. They needed to get a wide receiver. They did. Christian Kirk was good in Jacksonville, and now he becomes a top option in this very, very talented wide receiver free agent group. Granted, a lot of these guys are older now, but the names in them are ridiculously good. Max Crosby signs a 3-year, $106 million extension with Vegas, making him the highest paid non-quarterback player in the league. So that one was interesting. Dak Prescott mentioned earlier converted $45 million into signing bonus, which made $36 million of cap for Dallas. So I think it's very clear Dak, CD had discussions of ways they can keep Micah Parsons on the team. Obviously, they're still going to get paid that money, right? It's just converted in a different way. Zach Bond re-signs with Philly, a 3-year, $51 million contract extension. Played phenomenal for Philly last year with their DB, departures of Slay and Bradbury. Brings in some more money, so someone like Zach Bond gets taken care of. Zach Martin retires from Dallas. That one was a bit shocking, but I mean, the man was just phenomenal. He's one of the best guards in the game for a very long time. So, yeah, Zach Martin, amazing. Miss Bradley Chubb renegotiated his contract with Miami. That big defensive piece for them. Joey Bosa released by the Chargers. This one was interesting, obviously, to me. It's a contract issue, right? His health issues were one thing, but the contract he was getting with his health, it just wasn't warranted for the Chargers anymore. It created $25 million of cap. Joey Bosa and both Khalil Mack free agents for the Chargers now, so they're going to have to rebuild their defense. Deshaun Watson, this one is big for Cleveland Brown fans. He converted $44 million of his salary into a signing bonus, creating $35 million of cap with the Browns. So that one is, if you're a Browns fan, you're happy with that news. Unfortunately, you're not happy with Deshaun Watson's play as your quarterback, but at least they have now some more flexible money. Durham Smythe signs with the Bears. Obviously, it's not official yet, but once free agency starts, that's one of the news is there to be a backup with Cole Kmet. Cole Holcomb renegotiated contract with Pittsburgh. He's going to stay there. Mitch Morse retires the Jacksonville center. That one was kind of shocking. He's been a fine piece for Jacksonville. One of those positions you really didn't have to worry about. Tutu Atwell, this one is interesting. He signed a 1-year, $10 million contract extension with the Rams. I like Tutu. I don't think he's worth a $10 million a year. Obviously, it's a 1 year, but $10 million for a year worth of a contract That one was just shocking to me. It's appearing that the Rams are going to use Tutu Atwell this season, then giving him that much money. Some other names just resigning, right? Outside linebacker for the Bears. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. I'm going to botch it. Theo Jackson extends with the Vikings. The safety there, Zane Gonzalez extension. Kicker for the Commanders. Josh Jobe, contract extension with Seattle. Sam Martin released from Buffalo. And Kurt Hinish signs an extension with Houston. So some of the news off the bat, the Chargers defense, to me, is now very interesting of how they're going to rebuild this defense. They have a lot of cap. They still have their picks, but you have to figure they need another wide receiver. I think that's very clear. They need some stability with tight end play. A lot of injuries there. They need a consistent running back. I think J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards did an okay job, especially J.K. Dobbins. But he was hurt, and now their defense kind of gets two of their better players. Obviously, Khalil Mack had an amazing season last year. Joey Bosa, if he stays healthy, he is very good, but he just can't stay healthy, unfortunately. So, to me, the Chargers' defense is going to be one, as of this moment, right? This is before free agency. This is before the draft. They have a lot of positions they need to address going forward. If they don't address it, this Chargers team is going to be one that is going to be good to play against defensively. So, that means the Chiefs, that means the Broncos, that means the Raiders should have, 2 games at least that they're going to face a bad defense. Now, yet again, this is very early into the offseason, very, very early. They have a lot of money. They have the draft picks. Right, obviously a new head coach, so you're going to see some moves around. They still have someone like Derwin James. I believe Samuel is still there as well. So they have some names, but there's a lot of holes they're going to need to replace on that defense and team overall. So I'm interested to see how the Chargers are going to kind of rebuild that roster there. Other news is the Rams keeping Matt Stafford. That's huge for Puka Nacua going forward. You're wondering which route they're going to go as far as building the wide receiver room. Obviously, they just signed Tutu, so they're expecting Tutu to be one of their 3 receivers. Who else are they going to bring in? Are they going to draft a rookie, which more than likely is the case? They could bring in a veteran presence. Obviously, Cooper Kupp, not officially gone yet, but it seems like, right, he is going to be gone. So the Rams kind of just said right now it's Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell, and going forward we'll find a wide receiver 3. So that's just news to watch out for there. Other news is the wide receiver free agency market is crazy. I went over it last week, but we'll go over it again for listeners. It's I'll go over everybody. If you're watching, it's easier to see here. So wide receivers, the list just grew, but Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Brandon Cooks, Deontay Johnson, Christian Kirk, Tyler Lockett, DeAndre Hopkins. We'll throw in Mike Williams. I'm not really going to throw in Robert Woods. Marquise Brown, Darius Slayton. Not going to mention some of these other guys. They've had a good season-ish, but Elijah Moore is there. I guess we could say Nick Westbrook, but he's going to be 28. He was just a touchdown merchant for the Titans. Maybe a team uses him in that aspect, but other than that, you get Noah Brown, Juju, MVS, some of these other names, but the top names, there's a lot of talent to kind of rebuild your wide receiver room if you need to. Obviously, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs are probably 2 of the best names on this list. If you're looking for age, kind of, Christian Kirk, Chris Godwin coming off of a more major injury. But I like Marquise Brown and Darius Slayton. I think are 2 sleeper wide receivers to wherever they end up. I think they're going to end up
being the wide receiver 2 on that team and being a really good piece for that offense. So those are 2 names I'm watching out for. But that is it for this week's kind of transactions. Next week's will be, I think, a bit more newsworthy because we're going to get actual signings. Right now, it's just releases, trades, and contract extensions. So, obviously, this is going out on Thursday. There's still a lot more news that can happen. But that is it for today. So, I hope you guys did enjoy the episode. And I will see you guys in the next one.